Welcome in everyone to Catch That Ticket podcast here on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed, Tuesday, June the 16th, 2026, as the dust settles on the NHL and the NBA season. We'll not even look back to it because I'll just make this one quick. Congrats to the Knicks. Congrats to the Carolina Hurricanes for hoisting the titles in their respective leagues. But now, full force ahead in MLB. And on this episode and going forward, we'll start breaking down NFL win totals. We'll do one team per day leading up to the football season. I'm sure maybe down the road in a couple weeks or the month of July, I'll pick the brain of Uncle Dave on some college football stuff as well. But we'll turn up the conversation and the actionable items for the football season coming up. And it's going to be here before we know it. But now is the dog days of the summer with baseball going on. Of course, we got WNBA. And we also got the World Cup to kind of get us through the summer here as well. So definitely excited for all of that. Of course, always joining me, making his return after last week. We were doing some stuff with the pod, as I mentioned on Friday. We had some tech issues yesterday, but we've got it all figured out. We're officially back. Uncle Dave, how's it going, sir?
Well, it's going great. I'm loving to have these tech issues figured out. For those that don't know, we tried to record yesterday, but there were
Yep.
some issues, and it was on my end, but I got that figured out. I was kind of wishing we did do something that we wouldn't be embarrassed to put out there because my best bet would have won, and I don't know how yours fared, but it's always nice to get those winning, and I'm ready to rock and roll, pal.
Yeah, I went back and listened to it and it just wasn't it would have made our listeners' ears bleed. So we decided to scrap it, but Uncle Dave got it figured out. I had stuff on my end as well, some internet issues there. So we're trying to get in mid-season form before the football season gets here. So definitely.
We got 52 days until the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, there we go. Not that anybody's counting or anything. Only 52 days to the Hall of Fame game, but yeah, I'm excited. Like I mentioned, we'll start talking football. We'll talk win totals. We'll get into MLB card. My best bet would have lost yesterday, Uncle Dave, because I took the. I think I gave out the over in the Dodgers and the Rays game. It was 4-3, or sorry, it was 3-3 at the end of two innings, and then
Oh,
after that, they combined to score one run after that. But I think more importantly, I did get my three-star best bet winner that I gave to clients and was up for sale at pregame on the over in the Nationals and the Royals game. And that was funny too because it was 7-3 at the end of five. It got us to the window, of course, so thankful for that. But then after that, they didn't score a single run either. So baseball is a funny game sometimes there. But as always, we keep our memory short. We'll goldfish memory. We'll look for the next winner for you guys on this pod, and of course for our clients as well. Uncle Dave, let's get into it here. Let's start with baseball, and then we'll keep the football talk for the latter part of the episode. We'll start with the NL East battle in the city of brotherly love, the Philadelphia Phillies. They are hosting the Marlins to start the week. Here it'll be Tyler Phillips. For the Marlins, it'll be Jesus Lizardo for the Phillies. Phillies are a minus 180 home favorite, plus 148 on the money line for the Marlins. Total this one, Uncle Dave, sitting at 8.
yeah. I mean, I actually do like Phillips, pitcher for the Marlins. I mean, he's thrown 48 innings this year, and he's only allowed two home runs. But the caveat here is his propensity to walk people, and the Phillies have seen him this season. Back to the upside, though, he's a ground ball pitcher, which is why he's not giving up a lot of home runs. Uh, on the other hand, I look at Lizardo. He's been mostly solid this year, except for I think one game against the White Sox. But then there's the Marlins' familiarity with him being in the same division, and kind of look at the bullpens. I think they're created pretty equally here. Put it this way, I guess there's no chance of laying minus 170 here for me, or even higher for the first five. I would actually be inclined to take the first five under. That would be my best bet in this game. And to be honest, I actually lean fish plus a half a run in the first five at plus money. So I think if I would have bet this game and took both of those two, I would probably make money.
Yeah, Tyler Phillips, I think over the last couple games here has turned into more of a starter for the Marlins there. I know he was coming out of the bullpen earlier in the season, but it looks like it's well earned for him. He's had, some great starts. He had a little bit of trouble against the Tampa Bay Rays. Gave up 3 earned runs on 7 hits and 4 and 2/3, but bounced back in 5 shutout innings against the Arizona Diamondbacks. You mentioned with Jesus Lizardo, you hit the nail on the head that he just had, one start in there where he did struggle. But other than that, been very solid for this Phillies pitching rotation. 5-4 on the season. The whip's a little bit high at 1.33. He's also coming off a really good start against the Toronto Blue Jays. And career-wise, he's been really good against the Marlins as well. So again, like you mentioned, both these teams being in the same division, familiarity with each other. I think we could see a lower scoring game to what we saw last night with Zach Wheeler was on the mound. That one turned to a 7-0 victory there for the Phillies in that one. So I'll take the under with you in this one, under 8. Lean to the fish. If you want to go to run line, even +1.5. For the fish, that's at -144 for the full game, at least in this one. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule. We'll go to the Kansas City Royals. They are in the nation's capital to take on the Nationals. Michael Wacha again the start here for the Royals. Going to be Foster Griffin for the Nationals. Nationals are a -143 home favorite, +119 on the money line for the Royals. Total this one sitting at 8.5 as the Nationals do come off a 7-3 victory in game one of this series here, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, I mean Michael Walker, right? I mean, I think he could be starting to show his age a little bit here. I mean, we're getting into the season and the warmth now, and he's thrown a lot of innings, and I say that to say that he's been crushed in each of his last three starts. So, there is that. Griffin, I don't know where he came from. Well, I do actually. It was Japan, but he should have a little bit of extra motivation in that he was drafted by these Royals and eventually traded to Toronto before going to Japan. So, I mean, if it were me, I'd be motivated to face a team that played a big part in me having to pitch in Japan to prove myself. So I would take the Nationals here, and I would take their team total over as well.
Yeah, the well, we no, it's funny. I'm kind of referring to the pod that we did yesterday that didn't get out, but you mentioned it, right? And we talked about it that the Nationals are a team that's going to score a lot of runs and give up a lot of runs at the same time, kind of like the Cincinnati Bengals of the NFL. Um, so I know what their offense is capable of. We've seen that, early on in the season here as I don't know, we're approaching the halfway point, are we? But they have a lot of talent on that side in their everyday lineup as far as guys that can hit the baseball. It's where the rotation has really struggled for this team, and they just don't have that, ace. We talked a lot about Miles Michaelis throughout the season as well. Early on, where he was struggling, he seemed to have stabilized a little bit. Foster Griffin, that's going to start here tonight. Last two starts has actually been really good. 5 innings against the Diamondbacks, 1 earned run, and then his last start in San Francisco. Yes, a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts in that game. But you take a look at his home and road splits, where the ERA is a little bit higher for him at home with a 4.00, 12 earned runs allowed in 27 innings pitched there. So I like your call on the Nationals team total over. It seems like we're banging on the same drum there, but I mean, this team can hit the baseball, they can score runs. I should mention this before we get to the next game, Uncle Dave, that the Royals have lost 6 straight starts that Michael Wacha has made for this team, and they've only scored 4 runs or more, or I should say, more than 3 runs just once in those last 6 starts that he's made for this team there. So, this maybe could be a first 5 innings as well on the run line for the Nationals. If you're getting some plus odds on that, I wouldn't hate that in this game here between the Royals and the Nationals. Let me get that exact number for you guys here on the run line. -0.5 for the Nationals is sitting at, yeah, +105. That's currently over on DraftKings, but again, definitely shop around. Always get the best number, when we're talking about these bets. All right, let's keep it rolling here, Uncle Dave. We'll go over to the next game. Do you have a starter for the Blue Jays? 'Cause I thought it was Dylan Cease.
No, I do not have a starter for the Blue Jays.
Okay.
Um, at least I don't have one listed. You're probably right. Um, I mean, actually, I do see Cease. Never mind. Um, so it is Peyton Toll against Dylan Cease. You're right.
Yeah, do you have anything for this game? If not, we could get to Sox and Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, we can go to Sox and Yankees, but if I'm looking at that game, I mean, the weather in Fenway is kind of conducive to runs, and the total's only sitting at 7.5. Boston has typically fared pretty well against Cease. They've seen a lot of him, but it is Boston. I like Toll. So, I don't like Boston's bullpen. I could almost get behind Boston in the first 5 innings and, perhaps the over. But that would be a knee-jerk reaction, of course.
Yeah, I've said a lot throughout the season that I'm not sure I can really trust the Blue Jays offense. They've just been very, very inconsistent thus far this season. And at some point, they'll start hitting the baseball. They'll get other guys in another lineup as well. But um, for the Red Sox, I mean, you've talked about them a lot. It's just same thing with them. Like there's times where they can go out there and score 4, 5, 6 runs at a time, and there's some times where it's just the offense can't get anything going for this team here. So you mentioned the weather being there. I think this might be may move towards 8 by the time we get to game time. There's a little bit of vig on the over. 7.5 in this one between the Jays and the Red Sox. Let's get over to the White Sox. They're going to begin Yankee Stadium here tonight to take on those Yankees. Davis and Martin. Getting the start here for the White Sox will be Garrett Cole for the Yankees. Yankees are minus 149 home favorite, plus 123 on the money line for the White Sox in this one. Total sitting at 8, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, I mean, Martin made me a lot of money until everyone kind of knew how good he can be. But, I wonder if that is, I don't want to say smoke and mirrors because he's doing it, but, he's been in the minors for like 6 years. So, I think we've probably seen his upside. And, I can almost discount his beating by the Twins a few games ago as kind of rematch syndrome, if you will, since he had just seen Minnesota prior to that. And of course, the Yankees haven't seen him, so I know there's some people that are going to want to kind of try to be sneaky and take the White Sox. And Cole has shown some cracks in his armor, so is minus 140 ish a bargain or not for the Yankees? I mean, I don't know. Um, I think that if you can still get a 4.5, I can look at the first 5 under here. Uh, but I do think Cole first 5 is the bet. I mean, I guess part of me wonders if, it's Yankee Stadium, right? I mean, I know Martin's been around for a long time, but in the minors or back when he pitched for Texas Tech. But, first game in Yankee Stadium, I mean, that could get in his head a little bit. So I would go ahead and I think the Yankees in the first 5 is probably the bet. Maybe you could hedge that a little bit in case Martin is still, beast mode, if you will, with the first 5 under. But if I'm making one bet, it's Cole in the first 5 innings.
Yeah, the struggles for Martin have come, I should say, on the road. He's been really, really good on the south side of Chicago. They're 5-0 with a 1.01 ERA, but on the road, 7 starts, 4-2 with a 3.59 ERA. He's allowed 17 earned runs and about 42 in 2/3 innings pitched there, but he's coming off a solid start against the Atlanta Braves, 6 shutout innings against that team. And then he did get into a little bit of trouble against the Minnesota Twins there, 4 2/3, 6 earned runs in that one. Um, I do see he has a career ERA of 4.61 against the Yankees there. But also, let's remember, if you've been living under a rock or haven't been paying attention to baseball, and I don't blame you, that Aaron Judge is missing from this lineup for the White Sox there. So keep that, or sorry, for the Yankees there. So keep that in mind. Obviously, an MVP, and we know what he's capable of doing. But Davis Martin last season faced this Yankees team twice in August and in September combined to go 8 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs in that span there. I would have to dig a little bit more to see if any of that damage did come from Aaron Judge there. But um, yeah, Garrett Cole, I think this is a good spot for him to bounce back. I think if there was a point where I had given the Yankees first 5 to clients, I think it was against the Guardians that start back at home, and I think he gave up a home run like within like it was the first or second inning, and then he just wasn't able to settle in. But good opportunity for him to bounce back here. I think under would be the look here for me, whether it's first 5 or full game. Um, let's go to the other New York team, Uncle Dave. The Mets, they are going to be in Cincinnati to take on the Reds. Kodai Senga making his return from the IL, I believe, for the Mets here tonight. Brady Singer for the Reds. Reds are a home underdog in this game at plus 104, minus 125 on the money line for the New York Mets. Total in this one is sitting at 10, Uncle Dave. And last night, the Reds just absolutely took care of business against the Mets, 12-0 victory in that game. But here they are, game two of this series. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Senga's off the DL, and he'd been horrible before that. So,
Yeah.
maybe, maybe the DL does him some good. I mean, he did look great in his rehab start, but I'll be the first one to tell you from firsthand experience how lumbar inflammation can kind of affect every move you make. I mean, I know they're not going to throw him out there if they don't think he's ready to pitch, but it still would be hard for me to bet on him, even though they are road favorites. I mean, you got to think the Mets are kind of pissy after last night. You mentioned it, but I think I can't go near Senga. And by the same token, I can't go near Singer. I mean, I'll save you the ugly numbers. I mean, since the Mets are actually favored here, which, that doesn't happen very often lately, and I get why. I would have to look at the Mets team total, but I'd love to have 4.5. I mean, I'd still be tempted to take it at even 5.5, given the Reds' lack of a bullpen. I mean, you're asking the Mets to score 6 runs is not an easy thing to swallow, but there's nothing that tells me that they won't. So yeah, I like the Mets team total over Munaf.
Yeah, I like the Reds team total in this one as well. I mean, yes, it's at 4.5 in this game here, but it's what you mentioned about Kodai Senga, number one. I like fading pitchers coming off of the IL. Brady Singer has he had one start last season against this Mets team back in September. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run in that spot. Kodai Senga career wise has struggled against the Reds, and it's sometimes it's hard to duplicate what you do when you put up 12 runs in one game. But I think that's momentum that can build off of here. So I think we'll both root for runs here if we both like the respective teams' team totals to go over in this one. I'll be curious to see how long Senga will be out there, of course, for the Mets in this one, whether it's a innings count or whether it's a pitch count for him. But like you mentioned, prior to his injury, he was just absolutely atrocious for this Mets rotation there. So we'll root for runs in this one. Of course, a very hitter-friendly ballpark as well out there in Cincinnati. Let's get to a couple more here, Uncle Dave. Let's go over to the one that I want to get your thoughts on here. San Diego Padres. They are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. Michael King in the start here for the Padres. It'll be Andre Palante for the Cardinals. Cardinals are a home favorite of -119 on the money line, -101 for the Padres, and this one total in this one is sitting at 8.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when King was almost an auto bet for me, but that ship sailed. Given that in his last 4 starts, he's given up 6 bombs and two in each of his last two, and 16 runs. So that's an average of 4 runs per start, which is 5 innings, give or take. I mean, during his beast mode start, which he did have one, he actually one hit the Cardinals. And you know how I feel about flipping the script in the rematch. So, that also means trusting Palante, which it isn't out of the question, but for whatever reason, he's actually been terrible at home. I mean, the Cardinals have been hitting the ball lately, and the Padres do have the far superior bullpen. So I love the Cardinals in the first 5 innings.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you mentioned. There's that Michael King was a guy that I could trust, but just the recent struggles, I just can't get there. Along with the Padres offense as well, right? I mean, the joke was going around, of course, about Fernando Tatis Jr. and, him not being able to get that first home run after so many games and so many at bats thus far this season. Um, you mentioned the struggles for Andre Palante there as well at home, something you can't, look past there. I think the value is still on the Cardinals side of things here. And again, Palante has been pretty good in his career against the Padres as well. So until I see some consistency out of the Padres offense, I could just continue to look to fade them. It'll be Cardinals here for me as well. Let's get over to the maybe at least the pitching matchup of the night for me, Uncle Dave, the Detroit Tigers and the Houston Astros. Framber Valdez going up against his former ball club in the Astros here tonight. Hunter Brown making his return for the Astros as well. -171, the money line for the Astros, +141 for the Detroit Tigers on the money line. Total in this one is hovering between 8 to 8.5, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, well, actually, it is like Framber kind of alternates with good starts and bad starts lately. And if that's the case, he's due for a good start tonight. I mean, is pitching against his former team a motivator. I mean, to be honest, the guy's emotional enough as it is. So I would think that could be to his disadvantage. I mean, he certainly isn't earning brownie points with umpires lately either. So, I mean, that's not tangible, but it's a thing. And, here we go with Brown not having pitched in 2 months with a shoulder strain. I mean, I have to think Houston, though. I have to think they probably didn't rush him back, but I can't take the Astros for a full game with that bullpen. So I'd have to think Astros in the first five is a solid bet. I mean, as is perhaps the under. I mean, let's not forget that although Houston hasn't batted against Framber, they've seen him. I mean, they most certainly know him well enough, being on the same team with him for all those years, which might actually be a bigger advantage than having to actually face him. So I like your Houston Astros in the first five inning, my friend.
Yeah, I think I'll be curious to see if the Astros are able to stay patient at the plate against Framber in this one because he is prone to giving up the walks. He has issued at least two walks in five straight starts here. And the Tigers have lost four of the last five starts that he has made. And of course, as you mentioned, this first career start against the Astros being with this club for I don't know how many years it was for him there. So, and Hunter Brown hasn't pitched since March 31st. He's made two starts thus far this season. Has really good numbers in his career against his Tigers team. And of course, the Tigers did beat the Astros last night in that one. I know they were able to score a lot of runs in that one as well here. So I think I'll root for the Astros in this one. And then I think runs may be at a little bit of a premium in this game. So I'll take the under 8.5 full game. Or I think I'll probably just go first five as well because we mentioned the struggles of the bullpen for this Houston Astros team. Um, Okay, let's get to Angels and the Diamondbacks here tonight. Reed Detmer's going to start here for the Angels. It'll be Merrill Kelly for the D-backs. Minus 110. Almost a pick 'em on both sides here for this matchup total. And this one is sitting at 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, Detmers, right? I mean, didn't he used to suck? I mean, something tells me that he's overdue to give it up. I mean, he's given it up after games with high pitch counts. If he's been up over 100, he's getting killed both times. Now, he didn't have a 100 pitch game last time, but I just throw that out there because we will use that going forward. But the fact remains he does give up a lot of fly ball outs, and Arizona has the fifth best OPS in baseball against lefties. Now, Kelly's been giving it up, especially in the form of the long ball. I mean, he's allowed 13 in just 64 innings, not ideal. I mean, the Angels' bullpen is terrible. Arizona's bullpen is marginal at best. I think at 8.5, I like the over. I mean, I know last night they only scored seven between them, but there were 18 hits and several walks. So, if they could take a little better advantage of runners in scoring position tonight, I think they get to nine. So I do like the over here. Um, and if I'm being honest, I really want to fade Detmers, but again, Kelly, I think okay, there's a team total edge here, but I think it's both of them. So just take the over for the game.
Yeah, I think there was that start where he had against the A's for Reed Detmers, where I think they were questioning whether if you would get another start or move to the bullpen or maybe DFA'd. But since then, he's looked like he's been in Cy Young form for this Angels rotation. And yeah, it's screaming regression to me as well that I mean, he's had good performances about from against pretty decent offenses. You take a look at the four teams that he's pitched against in his last four starts: the Rangers, the Rays, the Dodgers, and the Astros. I mean, 13 innings, one earned run, 15 strikeouts to two walks against the Astros and the Dodgers. That's pretty good. So I feel like there's screaming regression in this game. Again, Merrill Kelly and both Zach Gallen, especially Zach Gallen, I know this season has kind of just fell off a cliff here for the Diamondbacks. But Merrill Kelly on the season, 5-5 with a 5.46 ERA. So I think the value is still with Reed Detmers in this game here. And you take a look at his home and road splits for Merrill Kelly in this one. It's no secret that he has struggled at home thus far this season. Four starts, 2-2 with a 7.66 ERA. He's allowed 19 earned runs in 22 and one-thirds innings pitched on the course of the season there. So I think it's still Reed Detmers in this game, but I could see runs being put up in this one as well between the Angels and the Diamondbacks. Last game of the night, we'll get you Rays and the Dodgers here, Uncle Dave. Drew Rasmussen getting the start for the Rays. It'll be Justin Robleski for the Dodgers. Dodgers are a minus 157 home favorite, plus 130 on the money line for the Rays. Total is sitting at 8.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. I mean, look at last night's game, which I always do before I dig in and see what might carry over. And it was a low-scoring game, but I know both bullpens did use a lot of arms, so I was thinking maybe this would be over. I mean, that would be where I would go. But and Robleski, he's another one that's been kind of feast or famine, and he was dealing with a hamstring injury, which maybe kind of contributed to his last start against the Pirates, which was awful. I mean, his only other real stinker was at Milwaukee, and somewhat predictable. Milwaukee can hit. And Rasmussen, of course, he has great overall numbers, but he's not invincible. Even though he's had two straight shutouts, but those were against Boston and Miami. So, not. I mean, they're not to put an asterisk next to it. They're major league teams, but it isn't like he faced murderers row. I mean, so this one's tough. I mean, the tickets are on the under, the money's on the over, so the market's not really tipping its hand yet. I think taking Rasmussen at plus money isn't something you have the chance to do very often. If it wasn't the Dodgers lineup, if you will, there's no way Robleski is worth minus 155. So I think when all is said and done, I could actually get behind the Rays plus a half a run in the first 5 innings.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Rays here. I think all the value again is on them. They got out to I think a 3-0 lead last night, and they just weren't able to score after that in that game against the Dodgers. But Rasmussen has been really, really good. He had one bad start over the last five against the Angels, where he went 4 innings and 5 earned runs he gave up. But outside of that, against the Yankees, the Marlins, and the Red Sox, he went 7 innings each in those games. Has pretty good career numbers as well against his Dodgers team. Um, so yeah, I think I'd be on the Rays here plus on the money line plus 130. The run line there is a little bit out of my reach at minus 171 there in this one here, but I think
Yeah,
again all the value.
I looked at that too. I went there and I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think the Rays either full game or first five would be the look here for me in this one. All right, so we'll put a pin in that for the baseball card for today. Let's officially start our NFL win totals talk and discussion and handicapping for the upcoming NFL season. So we'll work our way from the bottom to the top. And we'll start today with the Arizona Cardinals, who right now are between 3.5 on DraftKings is the number at minus 130 towards the over. Bet Online has under 4.5 at minus 140, I believe. Um, but let's start with last season, Uncle Dave, and then we'll work our way talking about this team here. So nobody's surprised. I mean, they were one of the worst teams, if not the worst team, along with the Jets. Um, and the God, who else was terrible last year? The Raiders, of course, and the Titans there. But this team finished 3-14 last season. They won one of their 8 home games. They were 2-7 on the road last season, 0-6 within the division. They had a run differential, so I'm gonna do that a lot now. Point differential of minus 133, and they lost their final 9 games of the regular season, Uncle Dave. And they were led by Jacoby Brissett, who is going to be the starting quarterback for this Arizona Cardinals team for this upcoming season. They did draft Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame in the draft this past NFL draft. But this is a very, very difficult division, especially when you have the Seahawks, the Rams, the 49ers, all of which who had 12 plus wins last year. And you also have the Super Bowl champions in your division here. But what are your thoughts on this Cardinals team for this upcoming season and their win total?
Yeah, I mean, I think that before you get into the drafts, who they picked up, and coaching and quarterbacks, I mean, I don't think you can do it without looking at their schedule this year. I mean, it's hard. I mean, they'll be underdogs probably at every game until like November 29th, which is their 12th game. Their entire win total fate, I think, rests on their last 4 games. They get the Jets at home, they go to New Orleans, and they get the Raiders at home. Their hope for an over may rest actually on the 49ers, who they play in their last game. So if that game is meaningless to the 49ers, maybe they have a chance. But I do think it comes down to that. I mean, another variable I think is when do they decide to let Carson Beck see the field? I mean, Beck's already older than Drake May, so he does have some maturity to him. But I wasn't impressed with him in college. I mean, I think his upside is though that he played for Georgia and to a lesser extent Miami. Being there, he's seen NFL caliber talent. So yeah, it's a huge leap, but not a quantum leap. I mean, I give you like Josh Allen, Wyoming. Saw the Mountain West and how many years it take him. So I think it would take Beck less time. Um, and I don't know that I can get behind him drafting a running back with the third pick when they need offensive line help, which they did address or try to in the second round. I mean, they have playmakers on offense, right? I mean, they get Michael LaFleur, should upgrade their offense. He could actually help steal an NFC West game somewhere along the line since coming over from the Rams, he knows those guys really well. I know McBride had an historic season, but is that duplicatable? But it's their defense, right? I mean, they've already lost Caleb Proctor, who they just picked up. They drafted he's gone for the whole year. They were near the bottom of the barrel in sacks last year. I mean, can they get better? Yeah, they can. If someone, and I don't know who that someone is, can take the pressure off Josh Sweat without blitzing every 2 on every 3 plays and leaving that secondary exposed. I mean, that's not good. I mean, Buda Baker's legit, right? But where's his help coming from? I mean, they don't face a quarterback who doesn't at least have a chance at the Hall of Fame someday until they play that Washington game in Week 12. And who's not to say that Daniels doesn't have a chance at that someday too? I have to look at the under, really. I mean, too many things have to go right for them to win enough to get me over. But when I'm thinking about personally, a lot of books put up win totals mid-season, right? And if they're 1-7 or 0-8, maybe you could get a little bit better number there. Then I would look at the over because they do have some winnable games in December. But unless everything goes perfect, um, I don't see them winning 4 games. I mean, I know that's not many, but I don't know that they've really done enough. I mean, Brissett, we know what he is, right? We know what his upside is, and I just don't see the wins on their schedule, and it'll come down to the last week against the 49ers.
Yeah, so you take a look at the start of their schedule, right? And what you mentioned about their schedule. So three of their first games are on the road. They go to the Chargers, to San Francisco, and then they have the Giants in week four. And then in between that week two, they host the defending Super Bowl champions in the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, that's a pretty rough three, or at least the first 3 games. And we could make what you want about the Giants and their hype going into next season. But then you talked about right the latter part of their schedule. I think after Thanksgiving, they only travel once outside of their state, which would be to New Orleans. They finish up at home against the Commanders, the Eagles. Bye week is until week 14 for this team, and then they have the Jets at home. Like I mentioned, they go to the Saints, and then they wrap it up with the Raiders and the 49ers at home. So the schedule just, and then again, they have games in between there. Of course, we mentioned about the division. They have the Lions in there. They go to Dallas, the Rams. They also go to Kansas City as well. So it's a very difficult schedule for this team. And a lot of it is look at, okay, the quarterback position. Yes, they picked up Gardner Minshew, mentioned Carson Beck there as well, but there is talent on this team as far as the skill positions go outside of the quarterback position, Uncle Dave. Yes, Jeremiah Love. They also picked up Tyler Algier in the offseason. We're still kind of waiting for Marvin Harrison Jr. to be a little bit more consistent. Michael Wilson has been a guy for them as well. And you also have Trey McBride, one of the better tight ends, if not one of the best tight ends in the National Football League there. So it's right now, I think this might be a year where it takes for them to kind of put it all together to at least get it to being too competitive again. I guess more so first step, playing 500 football. I just don't think that this is a year, especially what we talked about with this division, where you have the Niners, you have the Rams, you have the Seahawks, where it's going to be a little bit difficult against those teams there. So I would be on the under here as well for the Arizona Cardinals. Under 4, again, as I mentioned, it's 3.5 at DraftKings, -130 towards the over. Under 4.5 right now on Bet Online is hovering around -140, -145 for the Arizona Cardinals here. There, I think the future is bright for this team, but I just think going into next season, it may take a year or even two to kind of for them to put it all together. And again, I think we see more of what we saw last season, Uncle Dave, right? That this could be a team from a week to week basis where they are able to put up points, but also give up a lot of points there as well, because I think they allowed the third or fourth most points in the entire National Football League last year to the opposition there. And I go, when Sleep and I were doing the props pod, a lot of times we talked about Jacoby Brissett and the number of attempts that he would have in a game just because they were trailing by double digits within like the first or within the first quarter where they were forced to throw the football. So maybe we see a little bit of more balanced attack, especially with the addition of Tyler Algier and them drafting Jeremiah Love in this game, or sorry, on this team there. So I'll be curious to see what this offense does look like under the new regime here. But at least for as a win total does go for this team, they are. Uh, we're both looking at the under for the Arizona Cardinals. Anything else for the Cardinals, Uncle Dave?
No, I mean, I don't love that bet because there's too many variables later in the season. But they're just in such a tough division, right? I mean, they didn't win a division game last year, um, and I don't know that they will this year. But yeah, it's going to be tough for their fans for a little bit longer. But I think if they can develop Carson back, maybe they have a future. But the problem is the NFC West, right? I mean, the Rams are going for it every year. The 49ers never suck. Seattle's back on top. I mean, it's going to be tough for looking up from the bottom for Arizona fans for a little bit.
All right, we'll talk about the next team tomorrow on this podcast here. So look out for that. Maybe like I could look at ahead and see which team would be next here because I know DraftKings puts it in alphabetical order, and yeah, everybody puts in alphabetical order. So I'll tell Uncle Dave which team will be next, but we'll talk about it tomorrow on the podcast. That's pretty much going to be the format, at least for the month of June and going into July. We'll talk about baseball, the front half, and then we'll talk about these NFL teams and their win totals in the second half of the pod. If there is something else you want to listen or for us to discuss from bettable action for the NFL season, let us know. I'm sure once we get closer to the season, we'll talk some about season-long player props and things like that. But at least right now, our focus is getting to these win totals for the NFL season. All right, before we do get over to best bets for this episode, just want to remind everybody get over there pregame.com. And let me see what we have. I believe it's still basis 20. You can still get $50 off of the Sports Nerd All Access package for myself through the All-Star breaks. You get every pick in every single sport, which will be pretty much be baseball going forward until we get to the football season. But right now it is listed at only $199. But you get $50 off of that if you use that promo code BASIS50. That's BASES50 over there at pregame.com. It's been really good start for me over there at pregame as a pro there. Again, as I mentioned on Friday, I couldn't be there without the help and support of Uncle Dave and with Sleepy, guiding me there and helping me out. But it's been a fantastic start. I think I'm 23 and 12, I believe is the record there for me at pregame, but sorry, 23 and 12. And three-star bets have been really, really good. I think I'm 11 and 3 on those there as well. So, yeah, get over there, get an all access package. I'm sure the football package will be coming later on, but right now our focus has been on baseball, and we'll continue to grind it out for you guys. All right, Uncle Dave, let's wrap it up with best bets for this episode. I'll let you lead off. Where are you taking us?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Mets team total over 4.5. You can get that at Bet Online at -142. It might cost you a little more at DraftKings, but I don't know how you don't. I mean, Brady Singer has actually been better at home than he has been on the road, but at home he's still giving up 9 home runs in 24 innings. So that's not ideal. I mean, I know the Mets are missing some pieces, but you look at Singer's splits against lefties. Lefties are hitting 346 against him with an OPS of 997, and the Mets can put 5 guys in there left-handed. I mean, Carson Benz will probably lead off. Soto's left-handed. Jaron Young's left-handed. Brett Beatty's left-handed. MJ Melendez is left-handed. So nothing tells me that the Mets won't score a lot of runs tonight.
Yeah, I love it. I like you mentioned. We talked about the game. I like the Reds team total in that one. Uncle Dave likes the um, Mets team total over, so we'll root for runs in that game here tonight as far as best bets go for Uncle Dave. For my best bets, I'm gonna go to that game we talked about, the first game we talked about between Jesus Lizardo and Tyler Phillips, under 4.5 in the first 5 innings between those two pitchers there. Talked about it yesterday or mentioned the game yesterday with Zach Wheeler on the mound there for the Phillies. Did a really, really solid job as far as limiting that lineup for the Miami Marlins. And I think that just continues here tonight for with Jesus Lizardo, who also is familiar with this team. And Tyler Phillips has done a really good job as he's been, kind of converted into a starter here for the Marlins. So I think runs will hopefully are at a premium in this game in the first 5 innings. So I'll go with the under 4.5 Marlins Phillies in the first game on the schedule here tonight as my best bet. All right, that's going to do it here for this edition of Cash That Ticket podcast on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed. Uncle Dave, anything else for our listeners before we get our Tuesdays rolling?
Yeah, no, I don't have any more words of wisdom. I'm working on the U.S. Open.
There we
I
go.
have to do a podcast with Sleepy today at some point in time, so you guys can be on the lookout for that. Um, hopefully, I'm going to give you guys the winner of that. I'm certainly going to give you the first round leader.
There you go. Make sure you guys check out Sleepy and Uncle Dave for the U.S. Open this week, starting, I believe, on Thursday. All right, we'll be back tomorrow to talk more baseball, talk more NFL, as I mentioned, and hopefully, more importantly, we are talking about some more winners that we did find for you guys on this episode. Till then, enjoy all the games throughout the day, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.